I call to order the meeting of the Skokie Public Library Board of Trustees of Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Any comments from observers? Hearing none. Let's go through the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 14th, 2026. Do I hear a motion? Are there any questions or comments to the minutes? None. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 14th, 2026? We'll do an individual roll call since we do have Elisa. Hi, Elisa, joining us online. So we'll do all our roll calls individually. So we'll start with Mary.
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ula?
Yes.
Ella?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes.
Okay, and yes from me, motion passes. Executive Director's report.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see all of you. I think the main thing that I wanted to highlight today is just an update on the property tax revenue, because it's obviously an important issue. So, in a nutshell, the property tax collections or distributions for the second installment from last year, fall collection, has been delayed considerably here, and some libraries, you might hear, if you talk to others, some libraries, especially districts, have received most of their money, but for some reason, the municipal libraries, like the city, town, and village libraries, are somewhat delayed in our distributions. So as of January 31st, we had received, or February 1st, we had received approximately 79% of our collection expected revenue. And so we have been emailing and on the phone with the County Treasurer's Office. I've called Josina Morita, our commissioner. She's been very helpful. We're trying our best to just get accurate, predictable kind of like information that, like, in terms of what to expect of our distributions moving forward. I'm not sure what else to say other than we're really trying to get this money from the county. If they have it, they just need to distribute it to us. And for some reason, it's just kind of a bit of a mess over there. So some libraries we've heard have received more than their what's expected, and some libraries have received less. They all are aware that this is happening, and many of us in the library world have been very vocal about it to the County Treasurer's Office and our local commissioners. So we're doing everything we can. There's supposed to be another distribution this week, so I'm eagerly awaiting every day to see if we get that extra revenue. But it was good to receive about 3.7 million on January 31st, like at 12:01 a.m. And when we got that, we were really happy, but we want the rest of it now to fill out that installment. But hopefully, with the first installment of the 2020, the spring installment that we're supposed to kind of creeping up on here, hopefully that won't be too delayed, although they've already said that the deadline has been pushed back a month. So that doesn't mean that we won't get the early revenue of people paying, or automated payments of people kind of paying their bills early, but that whole like window is going to be pushed back a little bit as well. So it's just kind of an unusual year. It hasn't been like this for years, and for the past 2 years, it's just been a little bit troublesome. But I want to show you where Allison and I are working very hard to do everything we can, pulling every contact out of our phone to try to get someone with accurate information. But I think it's just kind of in a state of disarray right now. So we might see some articles even in local newspapers with some library directors interviewed. I haven't participated in that, but behind the scenes we're really trying to get that money. So thankfully that 3.7 million that we just received, that puts us in a lot better shape now in terms of our overall general operating fund. So it's not a matter anymore of kind of getting close to exhausting our general operating surplus. We're we're in a good state now, but you know, a few more months of not receiving any collections will put us back to where we were in January. So we just want all that, the money that's owed to us coming in, you know, by May, and then we should be fine for the rest of for the year until the fall. So
What reasoning funding are you being given?
it's really kind of like, honestly, I don't know if this is being diplomatic, but like a lot of kind of people saying this is a problem, and then other people saying this is a problem, and so I can't really, I'm not on the inside, so I can't really pinpoint it, but it's centered around this company called Tyler Technologies, who Cook County contracted to handle all the back end of the distributions, and just something wasn't ready. I'm not sure how to explain it. No, I think they've had a contract, but they're something, yeah, there was a kind of a change in the system. Last year there was a delay as well, if you remember, and this, I thought that was kind of done with, but then we're.
Seems much longer.
Yeah, it has been, especially because Cook County received the funds already, like by January, and so it should just kind of be flowing now. And the other concerning thing is that library districts and municipal taxing bodies aren't earning interest on our money. So meanwhile, whatever accounts Cook County might have there with all this money in might be gaining interest. So we've asked also, like, are we going to be,
Right.
is that going to be made up to taxing bodies, you know, because that's actually like money that we budget for. So in our budget, we account for the interest gained on our interest bearing accounts. And when you don't have like $4 to $6 million for a few months, that's quite a lot of interest that you're missing out on. No, yes.
But I would say perhaps our legal counsel could help point to some sort of, you know, law that would show that we're owed
Yeah,
that plus interest.
I can speak to that maybe offline.
Just see
with
what
you,
happens and then maybe retroactively, you know. Because I know that, I mean, I think I've mentioned I do government contracts, and if you know, it goes past a certain point in time, I mean, you're owed interest, so they will accrue it and get it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of question marks right now to be kind of addressed, so.
Did you say some institutions were overpaid?
Yes.
Like, what happens in that situation? I mean, I'm assuming that they have to give the excess funds back.
I you know, I can't speak for the Cook County, obviously, and nor do I want to, but I'm assuming that future distributions will subtract what was.
I see, okay.
Yeah. But meanwhile, those libraries.
But those are gaining interest, so, you know, so that's also it.
Yeah. It's just a big problem, and it's not just libraries that are affected, it's school districts, municipalities, every taxing body, you know, so. Other than that, we're working on our new strategic priorities for this year, 2026. This is the third year within our 3-year plan. So towards the end of 2026, this year, we'll start, the plan is to start kind of transitioning into developing the next 3-year strategic plan. So, which I'll hopefully have ready for the board by April, May of 2027. And then that'll be like, kind of carry us through 2030. So, yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
Like, oh my God. Process-wise, do you think you'll do it similarly to how it was done this most recent time?
I'm not sure. I think we have, a lot of us, including myself, were very pleased with the end result of this current plan that we're in. It's worked really well for us, the format, the structure, the way we have like refreshed priorities every year. But every year kind of has, I've come to learn every year has like a little bit of a wrinkle and kind of twist. And so we haven't really dived too deeply into discussing the process. But I think obviously I'll talk to the board about, bring that to the board kind of for discussion, probably in late summer. And then usually we have 2 board members who participate in the core committee, so hopefully that's possible as well again.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other than that, I think I wanna, mention one other thing here. We're doing, a bunch of us are going through this clear language training. And Amy, was instrumental in setting that up around the room, all of us have been, all the staff around the room are participating in it. And, I've just found it really, really helpful, in terms of thinking about how to communicate, in writing and kind of organizing, thoughts and ideas and thinking about audience, context, and so I just wanted to mention that, and hopefully you saw that a little bit represented in some of my memos in this packet, and some of the longer memos, I try to organize it a little, so that's kind of more digestible, but we're all learning, so.
Is that like a program that you're working through, or is this just like
It's,
sessions? that you
multi-session.
choose?
multi-session training, so we've had like 2 weeks in a row and one prior to that, and we have one tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's, most of the communication staff, a lot of the management staff, administrative staff are going through.
Is it verbal, written, all of it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
We're still in the written stage.
Okay.
Communication.
Good, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Sure. If there are any questions on anything else in my report, I'm happy to comment on it.
Any other questions or comments on the director's report? Okay, thank you, Richard.
Sure.
Okay, we're moving on to page 5, the approval of the January 2026 disbursement report. Bless you. Any questions or comments on this?
I just saw an expense in there for the GB Fine Arts, so I was just wanting to get an update on our art acquisition program.
Yeah. So that charge, in the disbursement report is for appraisal, a refreshed appraisal, given our new acquisitions and some of our deaccessioned art. In terms of like, ongoing work, the art committee is working with a consultant to, issue, a request for proposals for artists to submit ideas for the second floor, around the staircase.
Yay.
Yeah, so it's, we've, over the past couple of years, we've looked for something that would be appropriate for those 2 walls. But it's such a massive space, and it's also strange because people can't really walk up to the wall. So it has to be something designed for that space. So we determined at the end of last year that we would just kind of do a request for proposals to see if an artist really kind of, thought of an idea just for our space and pitched that to us, and work kind of the other way around. So the RFP is almost ready for, publicizing. I think maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to post that, and then hopefully we'll have a period where, we'll accept, proposals, and then what we're planning to do is take the top 3 of the proposals and then kind of make them finalists, and then kind of invite them to, dig into their ideas a little bit more, develop them, and then think about maybe budget as well, and figure out, who we want to ultimately go with. But I'll definitely keep the board updated on, where that process is every step of the way.
Is it, or maybe it's both, is it art that would be hung on the wall or actually created on the wall, or both?
We're leaving it open-ended,
Okay.
so we want to kind of see it, hear all ideas,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just thinking of something, but it might create too much chaos, but you know, some places you go to, like when you walk in the door and you can take selfies, it could say like hashtag Skokie Public Library or something like that, with a cool background. I don't know.
Yeah,
But it may
that
or
would
may
be
not be
cool.
the right space.
Well,
for it.
that's a cool idea, but because you can't, it's tight around the wall and the barrier around the stairs, so we really don't want people to walk like around the staircase on the back end, so has to be something that people can experience from afar.
Maybe in like the corner, maybe
Yeah.
a whole thing, I don't know, just thought.
You can spread an idea.
Paint? No, I'm joking.
Actually, you're probably not eligible because you're a board member. Or you have to recuse yourself.
I've had artwork hung in the library before, okay?
Okay.
Maybe it's 30 some years ago, but it happened.
It's more than I can say, so. Yeah. Yeah, but I think we're excited to finally kind of hopefully get some momentum here with that. But other than that, we're expecting to, I know Susie and some others are probably gonna go to the Chicago Art Expo. And when is that, Susie? In April or?
Yeah.
In April, yeah. So if anyone wants to tag along, please let us know. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go, but I'll try as well.
Alright, well,
Yeah. So- But
and then
people,
the other question I had was under capital
Sure.
for the fairway laser systems for around 13,000. So I believe that's for like the laser engraver in the studio.
Mhm.
There's just a general question of how often we have to update and replace the equipment. They're just with how fast technology changes and evolves, but it's also expensive equipment.
Mhm.
So like, about
how about that specific piece of equipment?
yeah, or
or
even just
general?
that specific piece, and then maybe how often we consider taking
Mhm.
like the equipment out and having to update it or replace it.
Mhm. I'm going to actually look at Amy Holcomb, who actually is here to help with the streaming, but she's actually our learning experiences manager as well, so.
So for the Epilogue laser, we get a 2-year warranty, and then we always try to do an extended warranty for at least 3 years. And with the last machine, we were up against, we couldn't extend the warranty any longer. And we were having repeated issues on parts that we couldn't replace them with the warranty. So we made the call to just go ahead and replace it. We were planning to do it next fiscal year. So it was already part of the consideration for shelf life of equipment, but for those lasers, it's about 3 years.
Okay.
And next year in the budget, we have some other equipment factored into the programming line, so which is, the studio falls under Amy's department, so that's learning experiences. It's like sewing machines, I believe. right?
Next year's is sewing machine. May 1.
Mhm. But the new engraver is out and people are using it, and yeah, just saw people yesterday, I think. So,
I had a question, somewhat related to the budget as well. Out of curiosity, our cleaning staff, are they on staff or is it an external company?
Good question. So the charges that you will see in the disbursement report monthly, that is for the overnight cleaning crew.
Mhm.
And that's a separate contractor that we use. They are not on staff. But we have our own custodial staff as well. And those staff members work when, before the library is open and during the library's open hours, and take care of most of the building. And then the overnight crew comes in, the contractor comes in at night and kind of resets the building for the next day. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sure, of course.
And I know we did a lot of research in that, and I know that you were really trying to make sure that we were connected with a company that we were satisfied with their quality of work. How often are we going to be renewing that contract? That was something that we
Yeah.
talked about.
That's good memory. We have gone through several companies over the past, I don't know, 8 years or so, or 10 years. And this company we're very happy with. So the quality has been good for actually many years now. And so we don't anticipate going out and kind of changing the company,
Okay.
but if they were to increase our renewals by more of a margin than we're comfortable with, then we would probably go out and try to request proposals again. But so far, for many years now, they've been close to flat or a very small percent increase, so it's been, we're happily, staying with them. So,
Okay.
yeah. But normally with contracts like that, it's the length of a tough time before kind of looking at new options, it's usually like 3 years. But if we're really happy, then we tend to kind of just extend or renew. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I had sent you an email earlier.
Oh.
I think it got trapped in my outbox.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
No, it hasn't gotten to you apparently.
Okay.
Under continuing education
Mhm.
memberships for Zacharias for 500.
Zacharias, yeah, I think that was staff training, right?
It was,
For
yes.
sexual abuse and
Yeah.
kind of recognizing.
Sexual and
fines.
domestic abuse of, like prevention training.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was that for public services, staff and safety
Public
staff.
services, safety, yes.
Yeah. So they're a local organization, just on Struggle. Yeah.
And then, unique under business expenses and fees for 780.
That's the company that we use for the notifications that people receive for our, account management. Like if they have materials checked out.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the January 2026 disbursement report?
So moved.
Okay, we'll do an individual roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ula,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
and Michelle says yes, passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to page 16, the 9-month summary income statement ending January 31st.
So especially for the newer board members, around this time of the year, we'll start giving you an income summary statement so that you'll get a sense of where we stand with our incoming revenue and also outgoing expenditures. And obviously this year looks particularly bad because we haven't received all of our revenue. And this actually, there's a footnote at the bottom that notes that the numbers here don't account for the 3.7 million that we received literally like past midnight on January. That was a Saturday morning or evening, and it didn't hit our bank until Monday, February 2nd. So that's why, because the statement is as of January 31st, in our bank, it doesn't register as a January deposit. So just factor that in. But next month and the following month will give you more of an idea of where we stand, and hopefully it'll look better with not only the fall installment from last year, but starting to get the spring installment from this year. So. In terms of just overall expenditures and pace of expenditures, like we're normal. It's just a revenue side that's not normal.
Any questions on that?
Are there any cash flow issues or do you?
No. Well, because we were fine, and then we were kind of getting close to having a concern, and then the 3.7 came in, and we should be fine now. And there's no action necessary.
Okay, then we'll move on. Continuing on to the approval of the consent agenda, we're going pages 17 through 25, pages 17 through 25. had a question. Just on page 20, going through year-to-date budget.
Mhm.
So we had a contingency of 40,000. Is that typical that we would have it and then we really haven't spent much of that for the year?
I think that, I would say that's difficult. I mean, obviously, because of the nature of the contingency, it's difficult to predict year to year,
Yeah.
but we historically have not exhausted that budget line.
Mhm.
Because we try to budget, with everything kind of in mind. And
Right.
fold all of our expenditures into the existing, the other budget lines. And
Mhm.
contingency is really, if we really did foresee something, or, we wanted to do something extra, like hire a consultant or send or
Mhm.
buy, some supplier equipment that didn't really fall into the other categories.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then year to year, we'll take that knowledge and then hopefully build that into the next year's budget, so that we're not like having recurring contingencies that are year to
Right.
year.
Because I think I noticed later on in there, I think previous ones, I think was maybe like a 50,000 from previously. So I
I
think.
mean, when I first started as a director, I think it was maybe 100,000, and every year we just kind of shaved it
Wow.
off, yeah.
Contingency. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As,
Alright.
as the budget kind of got tighter and tighter, we just started
Mhm.
shaving that up, because it was something that we weren't, like I said, spending entirely
Yeah,
every year.
Yeah, and then also padding in within each of the budget lines, some of that, right? the
Exactly,
wiggle
if we
room
notice
into
something that we think it's going to be something that comes up again, we'll fold it in to the next year budget.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question. I think I love reading about the STEAM kits in here and just how successful they are. How are families like guided through those items? Like when I look at the STEAM kits online and I look at the description, and maybe I'm just missing something. It seems like very high level, it doesn't really give like an age grade or maybe certain aspects of it. So like how are patrons guided through that process of picking a kit or something that might spark their interest?
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of it is going to be just visual, like the browsing collection, and so that's how most people would, I would say, discover STEAM
Yeah, I would
kits.
say there's more discovery in the building, seeing what's available than through the catalog, but having said that, we can certainly look at the catalog records and see if we need to add a little more description. Those are mainly all original cataloging, so.
Yeah, because I'm just
Might
like
be able to
looking
add
here, I
some more.
see this one's like Snap Circuits Junior, and then I'm like, oh, that looks cool, but I guess I'm just going back to my toy experience, like, when we list toys online, you also have the age grade, things that, key benefits of what you might learn and whatnot. It might be good for people browsing things online to get a better idea of the collection.
And we've also done some videos, like kind of cute videos for items like that to demonstrate what they are. So without having to have someone unbox, each kit.
And this stuff looks really,
Although an
really.
unboxing is a great
Yeah.
video too, those kids love the unboxing.
That's true. I think we've done some of those videos actually.
And those videos are linked in the catalog, so where we have them.
And I think the other thing I would say is, I believe our staff are pretty good at referring people to that collection if they, have a conversation with someone and it comes up and they think, you might enjoy our STEAM kit, they'll point them in that direction.
There's just so many interesting topics in here. There's coding, there's bird watching. I mean, there's a lot of very cool things.
Yeah.
I think it's neat.
I think somebody better check out the STEAM kit.
I think it's cool. I like it. And I think it's interesting too, like, I'm just curious, like, when I look at a lot of it, obviously there's a lot of engineering things in here, a lot of tech. Obviously the A with STEAM is art, like, is there a decent amount of things with art activities too? I'm just trying to make sure there's balance within that collection as well. I feel like a lot of things tend to head very, like,
The
go
original
very heavy with
style.
it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we try to get a balance, but I would agree with you. More of it tends to be in those categories than in the strict art category. art kits are also a little harder to circulate, because if you make the art, then we have to somehow refill it,
Yes.
reset it, whereas
Yeah.
snap circuits, we can just make sure all the snap circuits are there, and then the next person can use it right away. So it's a little trickier.
Yeah,
I think probably a lot of the swim kits, I would imagine, are kind of a blend of two, multiple
oh yeah, for sure.
categories, you know.
There's a lot of science and engineering, there's some things here, obviously, with patterns and coding and stuff. There could be a creative way to get some art stuff.
Yeah, we can ask our collection supervisor for more information about what we collect for the art category.
We have historically had quite a number of music related
Oh,
items
okay.
too, so we can really-
Instruments.
Instead of like piano thing in here.
Mhm. Oh, that's true, yeah.
I think Lego makes sets that you can sort of make videos with, which might work because then the
Oh.
pieces would all come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can share these ideas with our collection supervisor.
For kudos, I think it's a really cool thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I really enjoyed reading about the event highlights in January. It's really great to see, you know, the library being utilized in all of its different spaces and even going outside to, you know, local establishments to make those connections.
Yeah.
Is really neat to see. And I love the idea of a speed fronting event. That's pretty cool. But I think that that really speaks to, you know, that sense of belonging and making connections within the community. So, you know, you make it really enticing and a fun way to do that, right? So I
It's
like
not
it.
by accident, and our staff are definitely mindful of our strategic focus areas. And
Mhm.
it might not be like an official, like current priority, but as you saw in our strategic updates, there are a lot of things that we do that don't fall under the kind of handful of stated priorities. So that's a good example.
And big props to Amy and Holcomb, because again, in her role as the learning experiences manager is overseeing the programming team. And she makes the report, and also, you know, providing some guidance to have our calendar be as great as it is.
Yeah, and I really think to speak to that even, you know, I know that we have our current priorities, but I think what makes it stand out to me is when it becomes authentic, right? When we're weaving it into the everyday, that's when we know that we're doing the right thing. So even though it might not be a bullet point on it, right, like 1A, we're still weaving it within there and that counts, right? And I think even it counts even more so. So thank you and kudos to you guys for putting all of that together.
Yeah. Should we introduce our other staff guests here today? Yeah,
That would
Amanda,
be a
go.
great segue, yeah.
You want to introduce Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Good, I'm the new program supervisor.
Yeah, she'll work under Amy's direction and really oversee a lot of what we're talking about.
Great, well, welcome. Do I hear any other questions or comments? Elisa, you good? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you. We'll go to individual votes. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Lula,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
Michelle, yes. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to page 26, the approval of the social media policy.
Yes, so as my memo stated, this is a tabled topic from last month, and the board asked some really good questions about the revision or the version that we shared last month, and hopefully I've addressed those through my emails and also this memo. If you have any questions, I'm happy to comment further on it.
Just to say the change was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Get reads better now.
yeah.
Mhm, I agree. If I hear no other questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve the social media policy presented? Okay, we'll go to individual vote. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Flula,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Elisa.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to page 30, an update of the anticipated capital projects. Back on, Richard. You're back up, Richard.
I'm back then.
Yeah.
Laura's on the memo as
Oh,
well.
is she?
so- I was about to pass it on. I mean, I think that it's pretty straightforward, hopefully. Laura and I can help answer any questions that you may have. And there's no action, just to be clear on any of this. It's just to give twice a year, at least twice a year, we give an update on what we're seeing in terms of our current year's projects and then the next year ahead. So Laura and I, and Vinny, our building services manager, we're constantly thinking about this topic, to be honest. It's like a never ending just topic to just make sure we're not surprised, or to minimize surprises, to plan ahead, be fiscally responsible, obviously. And especially in relation to the budget planning, this is really an important exercise for us because, as you saw later in the budget memo, we're expecting a big year for capital improvement projects and considerable expenditure from our reserve fund. So yeah, if you have any questions, we might not have any details on some of these because we haven't, gone out to bid for some of them, or a lot of these are just estimates based on our capital asset study from a couple of years ago.
My only question is how often do we do capital asset studies?
We do them every about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but we've kind of done them a little bit more frequently because after the renovation, even though 5 years had not passed yet, we wanted to renew because we had kind of opened up all the walls and changed the building. So yeah, the current capital asset study is still good for us and useful. Maybe in a few years we'll have to do it
So
again.
probably maybe fiscal 28 or something, 29, you might do another
Yeah, maybe 29.
one.
Yeah, we'll have it also depends on how much things change, like if we
Yeah.
tackle a lot of these projects and we feel like we're really in good shape and there's nothing kind of on the horizon that we're concerned about or questioning or uncertain about, then we might go another year, but. Laura, did you want to say anything else?
I had a question on just the signage for restrooms. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes, I can. Signage. It's like, sometimes a bane of my existence, but no, in a good way though. So the renovation signage project we were very happy with it. But as you all probably know, I mean, we try to be responsive to the feedback that people give us and the feedback that our staff are sharing with us about patron comments. And the one aspect of our current signage that seems to be sometimes troubling or difficult for some patrons is like the symbols, the icons or the graphics on our current restroom signage don't have like the image of a toilet. It only has like a wheelchair because it says restrooms and then it has a accessibility kind of icon, and so we've heard from that some patrons, maybe it's due to kind of language barrier possibly, or just maybe cultural barrier, don't recognize what that might mean. So So we wanted to just change some of the signage to be very clear about what that means when we say restrooms, you know, so like toilet and also accessibility and also a changing table. Our current changing table signs were added kind of post renovation, and they weren't in the same style as the rest of our official signage. So we want to go back and kind of clean that up and make it, you know, the quality the same, consistency, consistent with the rest of our signage. So it's a minor signage project, and hopefully by the end of this project, when that's all said and done, we'll have a good long stretch where we don't have to think about signage anymore. But I feel like signage is just kind of just accept that, you know, things have to be tweaked here and there, you know, as we kind of learn and hear from our patrons and staff. So
You don't do any research to determine like if what, I'm just going back, like when I've launched products in the past, when there's symbolism on packaging, we always test multiple different versions with potential end users to make sure the symbols are clear.
yeah.
I don't know if we would do.
I mean, we rely a lot on comments and feedback from our patrons and our staff. And so our staff are in a way constantly doing that research, right? But we also work with the graphic designer who, Neil Donnelly, who worked with us on the original renovation project. And he does this for a living, and he has all kinds of like a library of, you know, icons and thoughts and history of figuring this out. So he'll guide us on kind of what he thinks fits our design philosophy as well as what's feasible. So, yeah.
Kind of putting my educator hat
Yeah.
on for this. You know, just looking at, like, for example, like I'm just looking right over here, right? So there's our signage just for like money and business, right? But there's no, like, speaking of symbolism, right? There are no graphics or visuals other than letters, right? So someone who does not speak English, does not read English, somebody who does it right, like maybe might have, you know, struggles with literacy itself, that could be something that might be a roadblock or barrier, right? So thinking about accessibility wise, what are things that we could be doing to help support our community, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying we have to do an overhaul, but you know, when we think about that kind of perspective of signage and how important it is, I mean, if you've ever traveled out of the country and gone to a different airport, we are really depending on symbols, right? And icons and graphics. So sometimes we have to think outside in that regard when we're looking at the signage and all the things that we have in print out to our patrons, right?
Good
So
point.
something to think about.
This is I never go into the kids' room. I don't usually have the occasion to do it, but I passed there the other day and there was this, it looked like a new sign that did have picture symbols and some new rules. And I thought that was really helpful. And I also noted that you can't have food in there anymore, which is kind of.
Could never have food in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That was breaking news to me, but now I know, and I knew it
Food
was
allergies.
from the
But now
sign.
you definitely
Now I
got the
really
rule, so
got
that's good.
I get it, it's stuck.
It's stuck, and I just noticed that there were like really clear graphics on the left side, so.
And that's our in-house team.
Designed
Yeah,
that.
those, the signage I'm talking about, working with this graphic design consultant is more of the stuff on the walls, you know, like the
Yeah.
permanent signage.
They did a great job with it, really good.
I wanted to just circle back
Yeah.
to your comment, Michelle. I totally agree, and something we can kind of keep our mind on as we kind of constantly evaluate the success of our spaces. But the collections themselves have symbols on them, like this, each category has like a sticker, right, or like the.
Yeah, I think I just have words,
It's
though.
colors with words.
Oh, okay, I thought some of them had.
I
I feel like real like mystery and you have like a little magnifying glass or
Romance.
something, yeah.
Yes, some of
I
them
remember
are
Like
Shelley
holidays,
Lang.
sometimes they'll have those.
So some of our collections might
Yeah.
have like a little symbol and others, you know,
Larger
have color coded or.
Yeah.
But that's a good point.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, just something to think about. I mean, I'm not saying we have to overhaul everything right now, but, you know, as we continue to think about the end user, right? What are the struggles that they might have, right? And even just looking at kind of like the colors of it or the font of it, you know, the black against the white sometimes can, you know, that could be a struggle for some visually impaired, you know, patrons or the other way around. So just, you know, things to consider as you're, you know, delving into the whole signage aspect.
Like I said, signage is a never ending
Oh,
kind of,
I think that, well, I think in anything, just like we do with all of our other aspects of the building, right, is we just wanna keep making sure that we're catering, we're keeping on top of it, we're knowing like what the trends are and being more accessible and understanding of our community. And, you know, sometimes it just takes kind of like, oh, you know what, like, if I just look at it a different way, if I ask that question or we come across it, we'll continually be updating it, and I think that's a good thing, right? We don't want it to be stagnant, we don't want the same thing that's gonna be there in, you know, 25 years to be exactly the same, right? Because then we're definitely not reflecting back on the current community. So,
yeah, for
bless
sure.
you.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no action required on any of this, but if there are other questions about the upcoming capital projects, we'd be happy to comment.
No, but I'm very excited for the Sprinter van coming hopefully in March 26.
We just, our Nancy, our community engagement director, and Carl, our automobile supervisor, just went to Indiana to do an on-site inspection of the Sprinter van, so we have a call on Friday morning to kind of talk through some remaining things that need to be settled before they come and deliver it.
Sounds way more fun than a steel precast concrete panels and second floor windows purchase.
I don't know, Michelle, I don't know.
Yeah, but you can, as you can see by the price tag, the steel cast,
Exactly.
yeah, and the ceilings are important.
They're very important. We're not saying that we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying it's not as
You
fun
can't-
as
yeah,
a
you can't-
Sprinter.
It's true, yeah.
Don't make the ceiling feel bad.
The Sprinter van will bring a lot of joy to the community, for sure.
And it just brings a lot of visibility, right? I think that it's.
It'll be literally a moving billboard for the library. so.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments on capital projects? Good. Okay. Moving on to page 33, the approval of the proposal for electrical arc flash study.
Speaking of capital projects,
Right.
here we are. When I first heard about an arc flash study, I was envisioning arcs of electricity, like someone will stand there with a welding thing or something. That's not what it is. But we need to do this study in order to really map out what we have, see what's so old that we need to replace it right away, what is in the pipeline that needs to be replaced. And the replacement of the air handling units will require some electrical work. So having this study done gives us a really good map and plan for the future for the work that needs to be done. A lot of our electrical systems are, again, very dated. We are working with Grumman Butkus Associates, who we have worked with on the chiller project and the hot water pump project. They know our building really well. They know our systems really well. And they have teamed up with Associated Electrical, who has also worked very extensively in our buildings. So they have a lot of knowledge. They know what needs to be looked at. And so we're confident they can give us a good study and set us up for the future. So happy to take any questions to the best of my layman's ability about this, but I recommend that the board approve the attached proposal for the study at a total cost of $34,786.
I think the only question that I have is, obviously, we do the study, it's going to give us a plan, and then I look at the thing that we just looked at, and I noticed in fiscal 27 that we have conduct electrical work with an estimated amount of around $467,000. So is this study directly correlated, and I understand it's an estimate, but that is correlating to what this potential work would be?
Yeah, so the estimate for the potential work in the future year came directly from our capital asset study. So that was what they had estimated at the time with inflation for the approximate time period in which we would tackle the work.
Okay,
That was their estimate. This study won't necessarily tell us the exact dollar amount of the work because we will probably have to make some decisions as to what we're gonna tackle first, if we're gonna do everything that needs to be done. And then that would need to be, we would need to bid that out and see how we're gonna proceed. So, it's our best estimate for a number for what work might need to be done, but it may vary from that once we get the results of the
that
study.
makes sense. I just wanted to
Does that
make
help?
sure that it wasn't this study, and then there's electrical expenses, and then there's this, which is completely separate. So I
No,
wanted to
they're
make sure that
definitely
the
related,
output of this is laddering up to this
Yeah,
initiative.
we need to do this before we can even
Okay.
tackle anything
Got it.
further. Yeah.
Hopefully the study will come back, and the results will come back and we'll realize that we don't have to tackle as much as we thought we might, you know, and so.
All I will say is
Well, that's the
electrical
hope.
is
That's the hope.
critical to the light. I mean, think
Yes.
about everything that runs on, I mean,
Yeah.
all the
Yes.
techno, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a critical
Mhm.
project,
Oh.
I feel.
I should also mention, they don't believe we would have to, you know, cut the power for a week or anything while they do this study. They can do it in pieces, and they'll come before we open to do little bits, but, they're not anticipating downtime, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when we do the actual work someday, maybe a different story, but for the study.
I'll hand out flashlights.
They could probably build one in a steam kit.
Yeah, I bet there is one in here.
Probably.
Or what's it, what would they use a potato for? Is it
Yep.
a battery?
Yes.
A
Yeah.
battery, potato
Yeah, but you
battery.
could put it, like,
I bet, yeah, I think.
We're
you
not
could
gonna
plug
go to
it
that.
in.
Wait till I tell Vinny we're gonna pass out
they
potatoes.
Potato splits for
I
everyone,
remember
yeah.
doing that at school.
still do that.
That's fun. Oh.
How long does the study take?
Oh, it was in their report, I wanna say like 6 to 8 weeks or so. Should have that right.
And then will they come to us
10
again
weeks.
to kind of, will they
Okay.
come to the board meeting to like share the findings? Or is that something that you think?
I don't think they would necessarily do that unless the board wants it, but when we get a sense of what projects we have to tackle, I'm assuming some of that will be over our spending threshold, my spending threshold, so we'll bring it to the board. And a lot of that we might have to bid out as well.
Okay.
So, but you would hear about it.
Okay. But 6 to 8 weeks, is that right?
Yeah, actually, Richard corrected me, it's closer to 10.
10, okay.
Do we know why they need the second company, Associated Electrical Contractors?
So essentially, Associated, sorry, I don't know where to look because the camera's over there, but you're over there. Essentially, the electrical company does the study, and Grumman Buckets is more mapping out and figuring out how the systems talk to each other and what, you know, order things might need to be done in, but Associated is the ones with their hands actually in the electrical box.
They're the actual electricians.
Yeah. Does
Okay.
that help?
Yeah, so sorry, what's GBA doing?
So they're more, like they're pulling together all of this test information, they're mapping out the system to see, you know, this piece of it is 50 years old and doesn't talk to this piece anymore. And getting the overall, this is what needs to happen. But Associated is conducting the testing.
Okay,
That's
So-
what-
so-
technical support.
more than just a middleman.
Oh, yeah, no,
Okay.
they're very involved, and they'll be the ones issuing the reports and meeting with us.
Okay, okay.
So they're the ones that are gonna synthesize all of that,
Yes,
basically?
correct.
It's like having the project manager.
Project
and then the
manager,
person
that's
that's
what
doing
it's,
it,
yeah.
yeah.
But this
Thank
isn't construction, but like that type of role.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they could do like an estimated like timeline of how things might work.
Yeah, they can give
Based off
us
of-
some guidelines of,
Mhm.
you know, what needs to happen when.
Okay,
They're preparing a report with all the recommendations.
And since they're also handling the air handling unit replacement, that will also tie together well, because like I said, there's some electrical work needed for that.
Mhm. Any other questions or comments about the electrical arc flash study?
I just wanted to say in general, it has nothing in particular to do with the work, but when we look at these, like scopes and whatnot, it would be helpful, or maybe, it would be helpful to have a header that says deliverables. Because right now it's like buried in the scope of the services, because I was just making sure that the, you know, written report is in there and whatnot. But because normally if that's where you go to see, well, what's the, you know,
Just
final.
highlighting that information.
Yeah.
It's good feedback. You can share that with GBA.
Yeah.
Surprised I didn't do that. It's probably just their template.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the GBA proposal for an arc flash study at a total cost of $34,786?
Second,
Okay, we'll do individual roll call. Mary,
yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Bula,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
Michelle, yes, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to page 44, the approval of the pilot project for new weekend hours.
So obviously I won't kind of go over every single detail in my memo, you have it in front of you, but hopefully this memo was helpful to understand how we're thinking about shaping this really, I think, I'm excited for this idea of expanding our weekend hours and something we've heard from our community. Thank you to Elisa, first of all, for initially bringing this question to my attention, and I think last summer when we first met it. And so it's been an interesting thought exercise for us to just kind of think through how would this work and what would our staffing levels need to be, what changes, if any, to our operational kind of systems would require, what service would we provide, what level of service could we provide, and how would our community respond? Not just individual community members, but our community partners around us, right? So, yeah, after looking at everything with Amy and Laura and our director of access, Annabelle, and many others, our entire management team, we really feel like there's not a big kind of obstacle in front of us saying we shouldn't do this, you know. And in fact, what we heard repeatedly from staff and the community is that that's a great idea, you know, and please do this, right? So I think that all signs pointed in the right direction, and I try to summarize kind of the key questions of how we're thinking about communication, how we're thinking about assessing the success of this project over the pilot period. And try to define for you how long we think we would need for a pilot, and also what the change in hours would be. The one key thing outside of the staffing level question was the early entry program. So that happens generally every third Sunday of the month from 11 to 12 currently, and that would have to be shifted to 9 to 10 a.m. And so Holly Jin, one of our community engagement supervisors, has been having a lot of conversations with our partners who help with that program, like our Rainbow Animal Therapy group, and also talking to the patrons themselves and some other groups that bring people here to the library during that hour. And you know, we can't guarantee until it happens really, but the indications we received have been that most people will be okay with the change. And some people may not be able to attend like necessarily right at 9 a.m., but may be able to come later possibly. We might have to add some, if we lose a couple of animal therapy teams and reduce that number because of lack of availability, we might have to add some other types of opportunities for patrons so that we don't have too many people going to the therapy dogs all at once, so kind of just spread out the activity during the morning. So I think we're committed to making that a success and meeting our patrons' needs, obviously. But I just want to be honest about that is something that we still need to kind of wait and see how we can execute that so that there's minimal disruption there. But otherwise, I feel like pretty straightforward in terms of what we know with our current data on how much the library gets used or doesn't get used, honestly. Saturday morning, 9 to 10, it's a very quiet period, so we don't feel that would be too much of a disruption for the community if we changed that to 10 AM to 6 PM. And obviously the way it will line up with the farmer's market on during June to through October will be great, honestly. I think hopefully we capture a lot of new people who maybe don't regularly come to the library because of their busy schedules. Or maybe we capture people who used to come to the library but don't any longer. And maybe they rediscover the library. So yeah, we're excited about this.
Do like footprints.
Yeah,
to the
well,
library.
we talked about balloons and, kind of, we want to just be really obvious about, hey, we're open now, because people obviously aren't used to that, so.
Victor, I had a
Yes,
quick question.
sure.
Thank you for the breakdown. It
Mhm.
was really cool to see all the different points. For the early entry program, could help, maybe I'm just not, maybe I'm just missing something, but like, could those programs still just go on at the time they're scheduled, even with the library open, or is the idea that no one else is here?
I
Or
think,
could you
yeah.
just still like organize, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the conflict?
Yeah, maybe Amy and Amy can chime in here, but my understanding is that, on a general level, the intent of the program is to offer an hour where the library is quiet
Okay.
and less populated.
Got
and,
it.
And the traffic within the library is not as intense or
Robust,
overwhelming,
right.
yeah, but do either one of you want to add
Got
anything?
Yeah, that's correct. We think of the rainbow therapy dogs, and that's just a component. It's one of the only like more scheduled components of the day. The vast majority of the attendees are using spaces throughout the library,
Okay.
including the studio.
So it's not like a program, it's more like
Correct.
usage in a quiet
Yes,
environment. Okay.
access in a less
Got it.
overloaded.
When we're not open to the general, yeah, exactly, when we're not open to the general public.
Okay, got it.
What's the attendance on that typically?
Oh, gosh. I was
The
here
last
for the
one was
last
really high.
one, and
Last one was like 50.
Yeah,
yeah, it's well attended, it's grown over the years too. So,
When we expanded to, it started for just kids and teens and their families. And then we expanded to include adults, partly with having the studio accessible. So now we're seeing more adults come in addition to the family groups.
That's why we need to retain this program
Right.
and we're committed to do that. It's a matter of not like, will we, it's a matter of how will we.
So the reason why people, if it's 2 hours earlier, it kind of conflicts with schedules that other organizations have kind of established. Is that-
But most people have indicated that it's fine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just, I just want to be transparent that some people, a particular group will not be able to attend right at 9 AM.
I see.
Because I think it has something to do with their shifts and like their facilitators, and
Okay.
kind of mentors, so.
Uh,
But like I said, I think there are ways to offer some service to those folks as well, so.
Great.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can.
Yeah.
Keep talking with them as well, of course.
The only thing I wanted to mention, it looks like you've got the start of a research plan for it to really track it. I just want to make sure that we're not just getting quantitative data. A lot of this is like looking at gate count, user number, track changes. I think that's all great. I just want to make sure we're also getting qualitative data as well to measure overall sentiment and impact in that way. So I think we should be collecting both things.
I think, yeah, for us, that's assumed because our staff are constantly having those conversations at the circle. And our staff are really great about sharing that forward, passing those comments forward and giving us a sense of what our patrons are, how they're experiencing the new service. So for sure, I agree.
Any other questions or comments about this?
Just want to say thank you again. Really appreciate all of the work that went into preparing this. And really, really excited that it's a possibility for us. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Lisa, for bringing it up. I mean, it was a good question. It's kind of weird when you first brought it up. I think I remember saying, that's a really good question. We haven't really thought about that because that was like kind of like and that's kind of rare here, like we usually like turn over every stone, but for some reason that was like one of the last things kind of that's just like, we've always done it this way, So it was a good prompt to think about what we could do,
So then with the expectation then, you said that you wanted to hopefully have some sort of idea towards the end of summer, right?
Yeah, that's my hope because, and I'll explain that a little bit more, because if we wait to decide something like at the end of October, then I wouldn't want like a stoppage and then a restart, right? So we're calling the pilot period through, May 30th through October, the end of October, but my hope is that we'll have a clear sense of how it's turning out well before the end of the pilot period, so that we can smoothly either continue or communicate to the public that we're only gonna make this a summer thing for this or whatever reason or whatever. But initially, we're gonna kind of bill it as a new summer hours just to kind of manage expectations, obviously. So I hope that made sense. But we'll see. I mean, can't predict the future entirely, but my hope is that by the kind of the early fall, I'll be able to come back to the board and say, here's everything, here's an update. And then really just at that point might not even need like a much of a discussion, but like probably a formal vote to say, okay, we're formally changing the hours permanently to X, Y, or Z. So, yeah.
Are there any ways that we're gonna be reaching out to to community members in order to get that kind of information? Like their opinions on it or anything like that? How will we be encompassing their opinions as opposed to just you have to walk through the door in order to be counted as a gate count, right? And saying that I've been supportive of it or not in support of it.
I mean, I think we could do like a
There could be a
survey.
table at the farmer's market.
Yeah, like a table. I think that's really valuable, like when you hear the full comments as opposed to someone filling out a form.
Yeah.
I think we can, I'm not too worried about like getting a sense of what the public feels. I think people will show with their feet, coming through the door and circulation possibly, hopefully new card holders increasing. And then, and like Leah said, we can talk to people obviously and do surveys maybe. That's it.
I can note too, during the summer through our community engagement department, we go to a whole lot of community activities and celebrations, events, things.
All right.
I got you, girl.
And Nancy and I have already been talking about how, usually that's one of the first things people want to know if they're not familiar with the library, what are your hours? So anticipating that we're going to be talking that up in those spaces, which is community members who aren't necessarily already library patrons. So we'll be able to capture that way.
I see a really great opportunity for signage somewhere in that.
I think signage is in here somewhere on the communication,
And I think normally if there's an issue, people make it known.
So,
Good point, good point.
So they'll find us.
they'll find, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I just have to say, just my own commentary and opinion on this, is I think that this is a great idea, and I think it's great that we're gonna at least give it a try and see how it goes, right? I think a big piece of us being able to, I think to be a really strong organization is for us to do a little bit of risk taking, right? And stepping out of what has been the norm and questioning why we do the things we do. And, you know, so I think this is a great idea and I'm super excited for it, so. Okay, so with that, I guess we'll demonstrate it by vote. Do I hear a motion to approve the pilot period for the new weekend hours as presented?
Second,
Okay, we'll take a vote. Mary,
yes.
Amanda? Lula? Ella?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes.
Okay, Michelle says yes, motion passes
Thank
7-0.
you. Thank you very much.
Exciting.
Yay, very excited for that.
So we'll put the plan in motion. So it might not be immediate that we announce this to the public, I mean,
Sure.
unless people are watching our
Tuning
live
in,
stream
yeah.
board meeting, but if you don't see it mentioned right away, don't be alarmed. Our communications team will definitely be kind of thoughtful and strategic about that.
Yeah.
Is there a way to promote it with like summer reading?
That's the idea, yeah,
Okay.
we're definitely tying it into the
I don't know if
Start
that
of-
was mentioned yet, sorry.
No, that's perfect. That's
Okay.
the start of summer reading, the start of the farmer's market, it's
Yeah.
all lined up.
It's getting me excited for summer.
Yeah.
I just wish summer actually ended in October.
That's not part of the plan.
Right.
We can't do that.
We're gonna make it happen.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to page 49, the projected FY 2026-27 budget.
Yes, so, sorry, can I just
Yes.
go for one? I just
Sure.
want to acknowledge, for the, weekend hours, Laura and Annabelle and Amy, they spoke to every single staff member who was going to be affected by this. So, yeah, just wanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanna mention that.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, I just
It really
realized I
is,
didn't
yeah.
mention that, so. So the.
Staff is amazing. Sorry, I know we talk about it like every time, but.
You know, we never get
We
tired of
can
hearing
say it
that.
every single time too, yeah.
Like the devotion is just incredible.
Oh, thanks. So the projected fiscal year 2027 budget, this is a reminder, just a reminder, this is a first look, there's no action required today, tonight. It's, really a draft, you know, so I really welcome any comments, any concerns, any kind of questions. If there's a lack of clarity in my memo and my communication about any of this, please let me know, because I'm happy to go back to the drawing board on things or, reword them or find a way to communicate what we're intending to do in a different way. I obviously will not go through this one by one here. It's a very long memo in front of you. Just the overall statement that the tax levy increase from late last year was really, really helpful, you know, so that, the revenue, expected revenue, you know, obviously assuming everything's on time next year, is allowed us to really fit, a lot into our budget, including folding in, factoring in, the new staffing that we'll have to add for the weekend hours pilot project. And not, create a budget deficit. As you saw, there is no budget deficit here. We were able to fold everything in. I'm really excited about that. And we even factored in a little higher, well, a lot higher of a transfer from the general operating fund to the reserve fund during the next fiscal year. With the thought that our current reserve fund, if we spend that down as expected with all the projects that Laura and I just mentioned earlier, that will really draw down our reserve fund considerably, and infusing that with another, you know, 400,000 on top of the 600,000 we were planning to kind of for next year transfer over is a real big help, you know. So to kind of keep our budget, our reserve fund in a really healthy kind of range there, so that if something really, like an emergency thing happens, we'll be ready. So, outside of that, hopefully the attachments and the memo were helpful to you to understand kind of the general scope of kind of what we're expecting to spend on and what the incoming revenue is projected to be. Try to kind of flesh that out in each category in order, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to address them or maybe just note them and then come back next month with some answers.
I have a question in regard to professional development. This is related to the board and the board members. Is there, has there an allocation been made in the budget to support the professional development of the board members here and their membership in organizations like ALEA trustees? The ALEA trustee membership.
Yeah, so great question. That budget line does include professional memberships, including the board's professional memberships. So for ALA and other associations that the board might be interested in for your role here. It also includes kind of some intentional undefined conference slots. So that could be for board, for staff, for out-of-state conferences, in-state conferences. So covers like registration, travel, lodging. So, yeah.
So I don't think that was clear that was accounted for all the board members, the associations.
Okay.
So I'm asking because we just received an email at the end of last month from the Illinois Library Association, reminding us to join. But I'm not sure, I can't speak for the other board members, but I wasn't sure that was something that was afforded to us. It wasn't explicit that was afforded to us in the budget. So I don't know if other board members knew that. Also, I wasn't aware of the trustee training that is, I know it's a little tangential to the conversation about budget, but I think these things are important for us to be trained and be around other library board trustees to understand how so that we can be the best trustees that we are. So if it's not explicitly stated there, I would like to explicitly ask that the board be afforded these opportunities to go to the ILE trustee training, that be included in the budget for our professional development, and that we are at least the memberships for each board member for the Illinois Library Association is covered every year without us having to ask. But that's just something that's done regularly.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I apologize for any misunderstanding on any of that. I can say explicitly right now, but we'll also fold it into a memo stating what's covered, like definitely professional memberships. Definitely any type of workshop, whether it's ILA or Wales or anything like that might have a fee associated with it. We can handle all the registration. We would actually handle the payment, so you don't even need to be reimbursed. So definitely keep that in mind. If you do receive a renewal notice for any membership, library membership, then all you have to do is forward that to Susie and she takes care of everything on that end. So as far as like out-of-state conference travel, that's also something that is budgeted for. Well, I'm just mentioning it just in case. Or, like ALA, American Library Association, is a huge conference, and every few years it's in Chicago. So stuff like that is included as well, I would say.
No, I know that you asked about ALA, but these, you've asked about ALA, so I want to acknowledge that you have asked if we're interested in this.
Yeah.
I think for these local and more, these local associations and then these trainings that are local that we can engage in, it would be helpful to know that, hey, this opportunity is available to you all and you should take advantage of it, because the Rails trustee training would allow us to learn from other trustees as well and engage and build a network of other trustees. So when we have these things where we're like, oh, we're trying to research this issue here at the library, and we're like, well, let's go Google what they're doing at this place and what they're doing at this place and research. We can have a network that we can reach out to say, hey, what are you all doing there?
I think I appreciate that. I think that what happens personally for me is I'll often mention the things that I might attend and invite the trustees, but I can do a better job of like kind of communicating ahead of time, like regularly, a list of all the trustee related trainings, that even if I'm not like going to be at a thing, so. Yeah, that's good feedback. Thank
I'd
you.
rather go someplace that you're going, because everybody knows you.
No.
That's true.
No. Thanks a lot. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I had a quick question, and again, forgive me if this was already mentioned, but I was excited to see this Teen Maker and Residence program on deck. And is that in addition to the one that is there? Is it hiring another artist in residence who's literally a teen, or is it 14?
14s by teens, hiring a teen artist.
Amazing. And when is that cooking up?
So I was just talking with Laurel about time frame to be able to post it. We would like to have applications open for that and our 2 teen summer interns to be able to be at the Niles North and Niles West March summer job fairs.
Very cool.
So
So it follows
they'll
the
be
same.
open then and happening in the summer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And is it following the same format, is it like a 3-month residency or?
I believe it's a 1-month
1 month.
residency.
Uh-huh.
And it will be a little bit more emphasized on side by side working on art practice, because teenagers, part of what the teen artists and residents would be learning is some of those facilitation skills that some of the adults already have. So a lot more connectedness and belonging, you might say.
I love it. That's very cool.
And will there be like a mentor who's going to be mentoring them alongside?
Our teen librarian.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So fun. That's so great.
I had a few questions on some math.
Please.
My first question, and maybe I'm just not reading the line item correctly. When I look at the year-over-year budgeting for capital, for example, I see like close to a 67, almost 70% reduction in that budget. So is that because the funds for that is coming out of reserves, or like why is that
Okay.
so significantly lower?
The under contingency,
On page 59, like right before where it says subtotal.
yeah, right.
Yeah, when you look at capital, yeah, it's jumping down from like a current budget of $112,000 down to
So-
36,000.
Great question. And I'm glad you brought this up, because especially for the newer trustees, who probably won't have not seen this. So that line is traditionally been a line where we had within our operating budget that we pull from to pay for some capital project improvements. And that line has always been used as a kind of equalizer for our budget. So if it's, if we have like a surplus in our budget with revenue and expenditures, then we'll have some money in that line. But say like we decide to increase continuing ed for by 10,000, we might just take it out of that capital line, because that line is not the only source of money that we have for capital improvements. The main source is a reserve fund. So essentially that line is more of just kind of like a way to balance everything. And it's more of a traditional line that we've always had. And I've actually had a conversation with Allison about, hey, maybe at some point we just kind of eliminate that line, because and just kind of make it clean out of reserve.
I feel like it should. I feel like either that needs to be, like you said, be allocated specifically to reserves, or the items that fall under this capital should be reallocated under these other line items here, depending on how we think it would be spent,
Yeah.
Because when I see like a huge drop in, projected budget, my thought was like, oh geez, like, why is that? Because, I read through the whole memo and we see that, this cost is increasing, we're anticipating increases here. And then you see a line item where it's dropping, like $80,000.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty significant.
If it's, yeah, I mean, I think I have the,
Mind you, I still look at the overall budget number, so
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
seeing the general shift overall, but it's just like a line item like that just kind of pops out and it just,
I mean, I'm happy to honestly, if it's a confusing line, I'm happy to remove it and then kind of fold it all into like either the contingency or that's something that's
Yeah, that's what I was
easily
thinking.
achievable.
It sounds
I
like
like
it
when I
would go
say
into
capital, I'm
contingency.
thinking this is money that is being budgeted for a
Mhm.
capital expenditure, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
if that's not the case, then I don't think there should be a separate
I
line
can,
for it.
I'm totally okay with that. It's, like I said, something that's kind of a holdover for many years and,
Yeah, because it just then sounds like it's more of a contingency kind of a,
undefined.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is fine, I mean, contingency is contingency, but then I
Right.
think it should be legal this time.
So what I propose to do then, and let me know if this sounds okay, if we can zero that out. Fold that money back up into contingency, or, you know, there might be maybe salaries and wages, honestly, to kind of increase that a little bit, and just to let you know and be clear though, that capital line will continue to show up until a couple of years later when it cycles off, because we always show like the past year's budgets.
Like
you know?
maintenance of equipment, how
Right,
that's
I
kind
Yeah,
of
I
like,
think
can't wait for that to get off the
Yeah, I
street,
think
you
it's
know.
okay, you could footnote it, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have it be clear, you know,
Cool, we're kind of,
yeah.
we're cutting that off at that point. Yeah, I'm okay with that if that's what the board would like.
I think it
It
makes
just,
sense.
it's the balance sheet, you know, cash and.
It's really, yeah, it's,
Assets as opposed to-
Allison and I will not mind trusting. We'll be fine. Change.
I have another
Sure.
math question. Okay, so for insurance and benefits, it's curious to me how costs for all those things continue to go up, yet the budgeted amount is down about $50,000 year over year. Is it just because for the current fiscal year, we over budgeted
I
and now
think so.
we're like just course correcting?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And part of that is because we go through changes in our staffing levels. So we might have a handful of like people who are benefit eligible, retire, resign, move on. Then we might have those positions unfilled for a certain amount of time while we post a job and so there's and that's happening with salaries and wages year after year as well.
Mhm.
It's difficult to predict though.
Yeah.
So I always try to like budget for the scenario where everyone's here for the full
Yeah.
year. But that's kind of what we're looking at in that case, and that's why, when we ran the numbers again, we thought, you know, we don't really have to, we had enough, last year to cover what we think we'll need next year, so, or this current year. what
Okay.
we think
I
we'll
just wanna
need
make sure,
next
when you look at the line item above it, you know, both of these things
Yeah.
are allocated towards employees, right? So if you have your salary and wage budget item going up, but then the benefits and
Yeah.
insurance for them is going down, those two items didn't necessarily
we are-
correlate.
I think we're conservative on the insurance line and maybe, you know.
For
we can-
FY 20.
For this current fiscal year.
Yeah,
So we'll of course correct, you know.
okay.
But just to be clear, insurance is going up, the cost of insurance is
Yes,
going
that's
up,
why,
so-
that raised a little bit of a
Yeah.
flag, like if the cost of insurance is going up, the only logical explanation is that we over budgeted for
Yeah.
the current fiscal year, but I wanted to validate that.
I would agree with that.
Okay, and then the last question is, it's kind of a twofer, so under
Mm-hmm.
professional services, could you, like, just, what are the key things that funnel under professional services?
So legal fees,
Okay,
attorneys, so any time I ask an attorney for policy review, or we might have like a FOIA or OMA type question, or board training, or contract review, all that, you know, labor negotiations, all that requires attorney assistance, legal assistance, so that adds up. And then anything that involves like professional, like consultations, so outside of, you know, obviously legal, but this past year, for example, in years in the past, we've had consulting fees for HR. So like if we're in between positions and we just need to supplement our current team with like a, you know, freelance type position from a consulting group for like, you know, a few months or something, that falls under professional services. Could also include architectural fees sometimes, or with capital improvement projects, we tend to couple that with the actual cost of the project. Like, for instance, like GBA, we're kind of treating that as part of the reserve fund expenditure, but if it's like a one-off, like kind of consultation or a smaller thing, we might just say, let's take it out of professional services rather than treat it as a reserve project.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was another one that went down, about $10,000, and it was like, well, I
Yeah.
do believe with like, negotiations coming up again the coming year, I just wasn't sure what the logic was for decreasing the amount allocated for professional services if we
Yeah.
anticipate possibly needing more.
I think that this current fiscal year, we factored in the bargaining.
Oh,
Yeah, because the CBA ends in the end of April, at the
okay,
end of April, so that's within this
so it
fiscal
should
year.
hit the fiscal 26.
I, I can't say for sure,
Okay.
but that it will be completed. But yes, that's
Okay.
my working assumption, and so, next year, presumably we'll have a new CBA, renewed CBA, and then we won't have to bargain next year,
Yes,
so.
that makes sense. I just wasn't sure when we thought that would, like which fiscal budget that was.
Some things just naturally kind of aren't cleanly aligned and fall into.
Oh, yeah,
the
for
fiscal year, so they might carry over, but all in all, I felt that we would be able to reduce that line a little bit.
Okay.
And we're also, another comment about that. So in past years, we've had more legal fees for policy review, but we've actually, I think I mentioned this before, our policies are looking really good right now, and there isn't a need to do a wholesale, like, kind of review of our policies and revise all of them. So our policy review work is expected to be a little bit less next year as well. So, and there still will be some, because some policies are up for review, like, every 2 years or every year, so, but there's not gonna be a lot there.
Those are my only
Okay.
questions. Yeah, I feel
Thank
like
you.
the memo clearly explained the logic. The only thing, I don't know if it's possible in the future, for example, this might be asking too much,
No.
but like when you have the memo,
Mhm.
if there's like a footnote or something, or there's like a clickable link where you could touch it, and then it brings you to almost the line item in the budget that you're referring to.
Mhm.
Because like I was mistaken one type of learning in the
Oh,
memo
right.
for like another type of learning that was in the budget line. So it's a little
Yes.
bit tricky to toggle back and forth and to see this paragraph is referring to this particular part of the budget.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a way to link them, like when
Yeah.
you're talking, like art acquisition is very clear. It says this, there's an art acquisition
Right.
line, but some of these other things, there was a little bit more layering. So, I mean, I understood it overall, but that would have
Yeah.
just made it easier.
I don't know how to do that, but Susie might, so I'll ask Susie for help on that. Just being honest, what was I gonna say? Oh, shoot,
But I do appreciate all the thought and the, the logic was easy to follow and
Yeah.
understand. So
I'm
I
glad to
really
hear that.
appreciate like laying everything out. So I was like, oh yes, this makes sense and this makes sense. And that's when I was just double checking against the numbers. That's where I was like, oh, this didn't necessarily match my understanding. That was the source of the questions I just
Yeah.
asked.
And thank you for saying that, and this memo is always a challenging one to prepare because
So much.
I don't want to leave out information and say nothing, for the sake of like, in the name of like keeping it brief. But I also don't want, I realize it's a dense, long document, with a lot of information, so hopefully it worked for you. I'm always obviously open to feedback, but wanted to comment on the learning comment there. So we do have continuing education and memberships, which is our staff development and learning, and then we have a learning line, learning and research, I believe it's called. And that's for collections, and I think that what I'm gonna do is, your comment prompted this thought earlier in the week that I'm gonna have Allison like kind of in parentheses or something, put for all our collection related items, just the word collections.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very clear, like physical content, lease content, learning and research, and materials processing are all related to our collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see physical content, lease content, like that is clear to me, it is
Yeah.
content, but then I see learning and research, and
That could mean for staff, right?
I didn't know
Yeah.
what that meant, so that's where I was saying it was hard, a couple things, like 90, to be fair, like 95% of it is really clear, but there's just a few
No,
of
I
those things where I was
understand,
like,
yeah.
you know.
We're always approving.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
But
And I would say for the subtotal, to make sure
Mhm.
that, 14 and change, 14 million and
Yes.
change ties to what we're expecting to receive in revenue. It's a little off, but I would imagine for the final budget, it would tie out. Is that what we're aiming
Off
for?
in what area?
So proposed budget fiscal year 26-27.
Mhm.
Subtotal line item is 14,307,965. And then I went up to your memo about, it's probably very, very first paragraph, or second paragraph.
Mhm.
We talked about incoming revenue, property tax revenue,
Mhm.
14,294,265.
Mhm.
So I would think, maybe I'm wrong, that number should tie to the subtotal amount.
Oh, okay. Actually, I can explain that. That's a good point. If you look at page 58, that's the projected summary budget. And so that's the sheet where we will list all the different types of revenue. So the tax levy revenue is only a part of our revenue. So we're expecting corporate PPRT, corporate replacement taxes, grants and contributions, interest on our accounts, and circulation revenue and other. And so all that together will add up to the total revenue. And then that 14,307,965 plus our bond payment all equals that number. So like it evens out.
Cut back into it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's not just the tax levy revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mhm.
When do we actually approve the budget?
April usually.
And it's February, it's all flying by,
No,
I'm
I
like trying
know,
to remember
I
what
know.
it is,
This
okay.
is always a busy season, February through April for the board, so.
So
it's a
then
lot of-
March, will we get like an updated
Yes.
one, and then, okay,
You'll have a second look, and then in April, I'll bring the final version for consideration.
okay.
Yeah. We used to start in January. I think a few years ago, the board was like, you don't need to give it to us in January, just give it to us in February, so. But if that still works, that works better for
I
you.
agree, I don't think there's a lot changing between those 2 months, it's just a lot of extra,
Well, and you're getting more, like accurate
yeah.
projections,
earlier.
because January is really too early, honestly. Because I asked our staff to give me input on that, like by November, and then it gives us plenty of time to kind of work with the numbers and have conversations about the budget, right? So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments about the projected budget? Okay, no need to take a vote on that. Okay,
And feel free to email me individually, of course, if you're looking at this or thinking about this and you have a question or a comment, please let me know.
okay, so moving on, we would like to go into closed session. So do I hear a motion to move into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1 to discuss the performance or compensation of a specific employee, and 5 ILCS 122C2 to discuss collective negotiating matters?
Second.
We'll have to do a vote on this. Mary,
Yes,
Amanda,
Yes.
Bula,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Elisa.
Yes, I'm gonna excuse myself though.
Okay, and Michelle, yes. Motion passes 7-0. So at this point, we're gonna move into closed session.
You want to
I
take a
think we need to
little-
like turn off the lights and.